Ah yes, China. That was an experience. The cash car Sunday Bazaar. The things that you saw there. Turkey. Oh, that one, that's a good one. Yes. Black and white photography, those were the days. We used to print them and hand colour them. They'll still be around when I'm not. Wedding photography. 15 years old. And they're still valuable, still lasting. Great profession to be in. Hello, I'm Ivan McClellan. I own Chromatek, and I set up this colour lab particularly for wedding and portrait photographers of New Zealand. But first of all, why did I decide to set up a colour lab? Well, I'm an ex-portrait wedding photographer. I owned Thought Studios in Pukekohe for over 15 years. During this time, I was one of the first in New Zealand to move from black and white weddings to full colour weddings. I was terribly frustrated with the colour processing available for professional photographers in New Zealand. And as I've been doing a little bit of colour processing myself in a limited way since 1966, I decided, after finding the right equipment that I could automate and get good results from, to do my own processing. Right from day one, I insisted on the best quality possible. And very soon, some of the best photographers in New Zealand were asking me to do their processing for them. We started off with very simple objectives: to produce work as fast as possible, for as little as possible, to as high quality as possible. And we're still doing those today. We decided we could achieve this by automating the lab as much as we could, by dealing cash with order, and by staying in Pukekohe where we could get, we felt, some of the best staff. Well, the lab started growing very soon like Topsy, and I found myself taking more and more trips away to bring back the newest concepts, both in lab techniques and overseas photographers. The objective was to improve the lab. We're now amongst the top 55 labs in the world. But more importantly, was to teach photographers in New Zealand how to take better photographs. And we've been successfully doing this for the past 15 years. I can say we have experienced almost every concept of wedding and portrait photography that it is possible to experience, and probably have attended more lectures and conventions than any other person in New Zealand. Hopefully with this and my know-how, it will enable us to give you, the photographer, the maximum amount of help in running your business. It will also enable us to give you advice on photographic technique, and more importantly, supply you with the best colour processing in New Zealand. So now let me introduce you to my general manager, John Eady, who'll give you a tour through Chromatek. You'll see how we achieve this extremely high quality. You'll also see why everybody that deals with Chromatek is proud to announce that they are a Chromatek client.
Welcome. Many photographers have been on tours of Chromatek Colour Laboratory during conventions and at other times. Perhaps you've been too busy to be one of those people. Before you send us your next roll of film, I'm delighted to have the opportunity of showing you around our professional colour laboratory.
The numerous New Zealand courier drivers that turn into the driveway under the Chromatek sign 7 or 8 times a day know very well the volume of work that arrives and departs from the Chromatek colour laboratories. This volume of work is not surprising to anyone that knows that Chromatek is one of the most advanced colour laboratories in the world. The courier driver unloads his van. The packages that have arrived from all over New Zealand are left on the entry counter. As the order entry person opens the packages, the films are separated from the order so that they can go straight to processing. The number of films is checked against the order, and twin tabs are placed on the films in the same order as they are numbered. The identified films are then placed on separate racks so that no two films of the same job will be in the processor at the same time. This unique system was devised not because problems were expected, but rather to minimize any loss to the photographer should a problem arise. Even though the system costs time at the other end of the process, any method to enhance the safety and quality of the end product is put into practice. When the film tray is full, the film processing supervisor collects it and takes it into film processing, where the utmost care is taken to place the films onto racks and put them into the machine that will process them automatically. A critical step in achieving high-quality prints is to have a very carefully controlled negative processor. Chromatek's C41 processor is an English dip and dunk type, which has been modified to specific requirements to improve control of the process and provide increased safety features. This ensures the very best processing for the client's films. Control procedures and the knowledge of C41 processing at Chromatek are recognised as being the best in New Zealand. Those of you whose artistry is working with photographic films and light will realise why we cannot show you more about the workings of this machine. Meanwhile, the order entry person continues checking off the rest of the work that arrived in the parcels. These are the reorders. A careful check is made to ensure the correct number of negatives are there, and then that the quantities are correct. All masks are placed into the box, and then the orders are entered into the computer. An extensive computer system operating within the company keeps track of orders and provides a host of information at the touch of a button. When the box is filled, the order entry person passes it through to the Bremson-Sievis video analyzer. We will see this critical operation later. Any negatives needing artwork go into the art department box for retouching before they are video analysed. Ideally, the size of the head in a negative to be retouched should be no less than 15 millimetres in diameter. Many customers refer to the art department as the accident and emergency department because of the nearly miraculous results achieved by its experienced operators. Here, we see one rack being lifted out of the film dryer. Note that these 220 films are looped and clipped at both ends, and that the clips are weighted. After these clips are removed, the films are checked for any irregularities. If a film or camera problem is noticed, it's imperative to notify the photographer as soon as possible after the films are developed. Paper tape leaders are attached to the films to facilitate handling, safeguard the film, and for identification. The twin tab is placed on the paper leader, and then those films wait for the rest of the films in the same batch to catch up with them. When they do, they're checked against the orders, matching the twin tabs on the film to the twin tabs on the order forms, making sure there are the right number of films. A customer number is placed on the paper leader. We also check the number of frames on each negative strip, so the customer is charged only for the number of exposures on the film. A coloured spot is placed on the paper leader to show what service is required. At this point, the films and the orders go their separate ways. The supervisor takes the films through into the video analyzer, a state-of-the-art machine from Bremson Data Systems, USA. The colour image is analysed and corrected in 1 cc increments until a perfect image is seen on the screen. A foot pedal causes this information to be recorded on a magnetic tape and so on to the end of the film strip. This machine is not sensitive to light or dark backgrounds. This makes it possible to adjust the colours on the screen to the colour that we wish to have. The Bremson CBIS video analyzers and the people that operate them are part of the reason Chromatek quality is unparalleled anywhere in New Zealand. Once the films have been videoed, they and their magnetic data tape go to one of the printers, depending on what print size and service is required. While one analyzer is working on films, the other is working on masks. Masks are reorders from negatives sent out earlier. All masks are reanalyzed to match the current emulsion and chemistry that's running. As the masks are analyzed, the information is printed out in the form of a barcode. These are removed from the analyzer and wrapped around the masks and are moved on to the next step. In the meantime, the film dockets have returned to the computer. If you remember, the number of exposures on the film were recorded on the paper leader. This information is now fed into the computer, so the customer is only charged for the actual number of exposures taken. If some exposures were blank, due to camera or flash failure, for example, the customer would not be charged for them. It's felt that this is an important consideration these days to help reduce your costs. As the negative masks come out of the video analyzer, the barcode is placed on them, and the masks are stamped with a date stamp. They are then separated into different boxes depending on what has to be printed from those particular masks. For example, if one mask needs a transproof made from it, it will go to the transproof room, and masks that have identification letters from V to L will go to the V7. Let's see how some of the films are printed. First, the magnetic tape is read into the computer's memory. As the computer runs, it tells the operator the frame number and how many prints are to be made of that number. All the operator has to do is to clean the film of any dust, place the proper frame number of the film in the film gate, and push the foot pedal. The machine prints the print exactly as the video analyzer specified. The colour printers have been refitted with a Bremson controller system and also a looped lamp house. This combination gives an extremely efficient and high-performance printer, which uses the Bremson video analyzer information to produce near-perfect prints. Meanwhile, other machines, such as the V7, are carrying out their specific activities. You can see how the operator scans the barcode to install the information in the computer's memory. She then keys in the information as to the number of prints and sizes, places the negative in the film gate, and the V7 takes over from there, adjusting the colour, setting the appropriate lens, moving to the next frame, and so on, until the order from that negative is filled. The looped V7 can fill an order with perfectly matched prints, regardless of size. This person coming out of the printing room is carrying a light-proof bag which contains exposed photographic paper destined for the paper's processors. In the wet area, several full-time operators work on the film processors, the paper processors, and mix and monitor the chemicals. An operator leaving the printing room has a tin of exposed film destined for the cine processor. In the film splicing room, a leader is stapled onto the transproofs as we see being demonstrated here on a dummy piece of film. While still in the dark, the complete film is placed in this light-proof box. Now, the film leader is stapled to the rest of the leader. As the film processor is switched on, the transproof film moves into the C41 Cine processor. When the films leave the processor, they enter the drying cabinet. This machine does nothing but transviews. The dried prints leave their machine, and it's almost a hypnotic effect to see the seemingly endless array of near-perfect prints rolling onto the reels at the end of the process. And they are near-perfect too. Any that do not come up to Chromatek's high standard of quality will be sorted out and redone later. This is the area where all of the varying chemistries are plotted to make sure all of the processes are kept continually well within recognized standards. Chromatek prides itself on running one of the tightest quality control operations in New Zealand. Let's move on to this busy area and see how the first run of films has come out. The first strips of prints have been produced and inspected by trained colour correctors who critically examine every print, making notes of corrections where necessary. The roll of prints and the films go to a second colour corrector who cuts the prints into film lengths, inspects the whole wedding or portrait, print by print, and makes any other colour corrections that are necessary, in addition to what the first colour corrector has already done. Then all negatives that need to be reprinted have their corrections written on the paper printout. These negatives go back to the printers. Prints that have been finished and their corresponding negatives are pigeonholed. The finished reorder prints are automatically guillotined into individual sets of prints. These will wait with their negatives until the next colour corrector is available. The hand enlarging room isn't being used at the moment, so let's have a look at what goes on in there. With the aid of laser equipment, the roll easel is aligned to ensure that the lens, negative and easel are parallel to precise laser accuracy. The rails and the highly precise bearing surfaces were specially constructed for this exact purpose. Air brakes, utilizing compressed air, mean that any piece of equipment can be moved to the exact location required with the utmost accuracy and ease. The negative is dusted very carefully and is placed in the negative carrier. Details are fed into the computer. The negative carrier is placed in the enlarger, and the enlarger is set to the right height. The enlarger is focused, and a final check is made that all is correct, and then the print is made. Cut paper is placed in a tube, and rolled paper is placed in a light-proof bag to be transferred to the processor. All processors must be loaded in the dark. The new Hope processor is 40 inches wide and can handle any width of paper up to that size. Remember the reorders we saw being cut up? They move to the colour corrector, who checks them with their negatives. Any that are not up to Chromatek standards are thrown into the waste bin to be destroyed later. This process continues until the results are passed by the hawk-eyed inspectors and are moved on to the next inspection level. The prints that were remade are compared to the originals to see if the corrections specified have been carried out. If passed by the inspector, they'll be sent to the dispatch area, and the order forms will be entered into the computer to signify that that particular job is finished. Now let's check on the transviews, which have been taken out of the C41 City processor. As these are mounted, a sequential number is placed on each one to identify the order in which they were printed. This will greatly assist the photographer in matching the transviews with the negatives. Once the roll has been mounted, the transviews are taken to the finishing area, where they are laid out on a light box and checked individually for obvious flaws. At this stage, a claim slip is made out showing who did the inspection and what is being dispatched. The film is marked for identification and goes into the client's bin to be dispatched on the day the client has chosen. Now, let's go back to the reprint section. The operator has completed one of the jobs and checks it's complete by counting all of the negatives to compare with the quantities on the order form. The order is then subjected to one more final check of the complete order, and then on to other possible destinations such as spotting, art department, mounting and texturizing, or dispatch. At this stage, the order form is separated from the negatives and prints. A claim slip is made out stating how many negatives and prints have been enclosed. The order form is checked for notations, and if it is now ready for dispatch, it goes into the client's dispatch bin, awaiting the courier. Information about the completed order is fed into the computer. Should a client telephone with an inquiry, the computer can quickly tell the status of each individual job. Some clients wish their work to be sent to the spotting department, which is right next to the final check. Here, the prints are spotted with speed and accuracy. Prints that are diverted to the art department are taken upstairs, where the miraculous cures, repairs and alterations are carried out according to the client's instructions. Blemish removal, background touch-up, even the removal of a moustache are all in a day's work for these artists. Some prints are routed to another department upstairs for mounting or texturizing. Here we see the mounting of the print carried out through various steps of preparation. First, a tissue is applied to the print, placing it on a board to be mounted. This particular print is being laminated, so he puts the seal Laminex over it. This is covered by the blue matte release paper. The print is placed in the vacuum press on top of a special release paper. Then more release paper is added. The lid is closed, the time and temperature are set, and the operator goes to the other presses while that one is processing. Here he empties work from the press and inspects the finished product to ensure the high Chromatek standard has been achieved. The blue release paper is left on for protection until the print reaches the client. Another feature of the mounting and texturizing section is the McDonald canvas mounting. Initially, the piece of canvas is prepared and carefully inspected. The identification on the back of the print is written onto the back of the canvas. The plastic backing is stripped off the print and an adhesive is applied to the canvas. After the print is positioned, it's placed in the hydraulic press. The tremendous pressure applied in this press embeds the print into the canvas in a permanent bond. The McDonald canvas process was developed overseas and has been used here successfully for a number of years. It's a prized product and is a growing area of business. While the print is still warm, it's placed on a stretcher Staples are driven in with air pressure and surplus canvas is removed. The Chromatek Stretch Master stretches the print to a higher tension than any other stretcher in New Zealand. When finished, the prints go into the spray booth for a coating of lacquer to protect the surface. After drying in a special drying room for 24 hours, the prints are sprayed and dried a second time. Even the shipping boxes have been specifically designed to ensure that the prints are packed carefully after inspection. Chromatek wants to make sure that the prints are in perfect condition when they arrive at their destination. We are now in the dispatch department. The computer quickly looks at every client's file, checks if they have any work in the laboratory at the moment, and if any of the work is due to be dispatched today. The computer scans to see if there is a must-go in any of the orders, and if there are any urgent orders. Any of these might signal the computer that a dispatch should be done now. It has been programmed like this so you can get your work back to your studio with as little fuss and bother as possible. Once this list has been made up, the dispatch person starts collecting together the first person's orders on the list, checking off all the orders to make sure they belong to that person, recording the job numbers onto a dispatch slip, packaging up and recording the freight. Then all of those job numbers are fed into the computer, signifying that work has been dispatched to the client. The computer watches for jobs that do not pertain to the customer, and if there is an error, it can be corrected before the shipment leaves the laboratory. The computer will print out an address label for the package, but not if the account is in arrears. In the bottom left corner of the label is the date the label was printed out, and in the center is the dollar debit or credit that is owed on the client's account. Finally, on one of the many visits the courier makes to the Chromatek Colour Laboratories, your job is collected and is on its way back to you well within the time you expected. Everything done at Chromatek, every routine followed, and all the materials and equipment used are designed specifically to give you, the photographer, the highest quality, the fastest speed of turnaround, and the most competitive rates you can find anywhere in New Zealand.
Thank you for joining us on this tour through Chromatek Colour Laboratories. You've just seen some of the automated equipment and met some of our highly trained staff that enable us to produce the highest quality of wedding and portrait processing in New Zealand at the lowest price. We do this through volume and standardization. It's through the standardization that we've established what is known as the Chromatek legend. Also involved in this legend are our educational programs, our marketing help, our problem solving, and plain, simple advice available to all of our customers. My staff and I are able to give this advice due to our total exposure to the industry. My promise to you is that we at Chromatek will produce for you on a consistent basis good, salable processing and printing at the best price in New Zealand. And I want to know if we don't. Thank you.